Today we're doing another historical marker video, and we're going to look at Clark County. There's a lot of markers in Clark County, so let's see what they all have to deal with. Here's the marker for Casey. It's a tale of two cities. It's a story often told on the National Road. Two towns, both poised to prosper, grow up within walking distance of one another. One thrives and the other fades into the footnotes of history. And this is the story of Cumberland and Casey that were both right beside each other, and it turns out Casey ended up surviving and Cumberland disappeared. This marker is on the development of Casey. With the opening of the National Road through this area, small communities began to be established along the route, one of which was Casey. The first settler was John Linn, a native of Scotland. Linn and family arrived from Ohio in 1838 and bought several plots along West Main Street, where he established a cabin/tavern. The first building in present Casey. After several years, this lot became the setting for Linn's National House, a two-story frame hotel, which was a popular stagecoach stop and local gathering site. It was one of the earliest and most prestigious establishments in Casey and was one of the principal hotels in Clark County. Directly across the street was the Linn Barn, where the cross-country stagecoach stopped to change horses. After Linn's death in 1872, his children managed the establishments until about 1892. During this period, as the community grew, the town of Casey was established in 1853. It was named after Zadok Casey of Mount Vernon, Illinois, our U.S. Senator, who was an influential and popular American politician. This marker is in the cemetery in Casey, Illinois. The early settlement of Cumberland. With the completion of the National Road, Cumberland Road, through Clark County in 1834, a settlement known as Cumberland was established in this vicinity. The settlement consisted mainly of workmen who moved here for the purpose of securing employment on the National Road. Some stayed, but many moved on. With the appearance of permanent settlers, Ewing Chancellor and Reverend John Doughty, the settlement of Cumberland was established in 1836 and much later was incorporated into the east side of Casey's city limits from 8th Street to 15th Street. Reverend John Doughty is credited with the establishment of the Cumberland Baptist Church and the adjacent cemetery. The church was built in 1850 and demolished in 1953. This was the first religious organization in the area and the first cemetery, which still stands today as part of Casey Cumberland Cemetery. 260 interments were found when this cemetery was restored in 2016 and 17. This restoration was given to the 2017 Community Service Award from the Illinois State Genealogical Society. This marker is in the Casey Cemetery, and this is for Reverend John Doughty from 1797 to 1875. He was the founder of the Cumberland, 1833, and the Cumberland Baptist Church and Cemetery. He was the founder of Cumberland in 1833 and the Cumberland Baptist Church and Cemetery. This marker in the Washington Street Cemetery in Casey is for John Linn from 1805 to 1874. He was the first permanent settler in 1838, and he built the National House/Hotel on West Main Street. This marker talks about the Cumberland Presbyterian Church bell. 48-inch, 2,000-pound bell that was part of the original United Brethren Church. It was at the top of the church from 1915 to 1986 when it was removed for structural reasons. President Bush wrote in his letter of congratulations, "With each ringing of this historic bell, you will be reminded of the profound faith in God, the love of country, and the concern for others that have been hallmarks of your community for nearly a century. I commend the people of Casey for your efforts to preserve this bell and the ideals it symbolizes." And there is the bell. This marker in Casey is "You Are Not Forgotten" for the prisoners of war and the missing in action. Here's Abe Lincoln welcoming you to Martinsville, and let's see the Martinsville sign here. It's Martinsville, the merchants of Main Street. Imagine you're traveling on the National Road in the late 1800s. Your wagon is one of many trundling toward town. The dirt road is rough and the ride uncomfortable, but you welcome the trip. It's a day to visit with friends, catch up on news, and trade cash and farm goods for supplies and services. So it talks about many of the stores that were here on Main Street. Here we have the Martinsville Veterans Memorial Walk. It's got this sign, plus it's got the Martinsville Memorial Park here. It's in memory of all who served with their country with courage and honor. And then over here we have a rock with several drawings and paintings on it. Down here it says, the Martinsville American Legion and Auxiliary Unit 515 dedicate this rock in honor of all soldiers who served to protect our freedoms. This rock from Dolson Township was donated by the Gene and Judy Higginbotham family, November 11th, 2022. This marker is for the Rowe Foundry Anvil. The Rowe Foundry evolved from Elias Rowe's blacksmith shop in 1870 to Martin Allen Rowe's blacksmith, boiler making and machine shop in 1901. The third generation son and founder, Edgar Rowe, melted his first iron in 1898 and built his first small melting cupola in 1910. This small cupola was the beginning of the Rowe Foundry, which has continued to operate for more than 100 years and has grown into a business serving worldwide customers. With a background in blacksmithing and the ability to pour large castings, the Rowe Foundry made what is believed to be the world's largest cast anvil as a tribute to its past while using modern techniques. A design for the anvil was chosen, a pattern created, and on July 7, 2015, the anvil was poured. The anvil display was incorporated into the signage for the new Linn Park as a tribute to Alexander Linn, who was also a blacksmith in Martinsville from 1898 through the early 1950s. The anvil weighs 5,530 pounds. It is 78 inches long and 34 inches tall. And there is what is believed to be the world's largest anvil. This marker is in Marshall, Illinois, beside this restored log cabin. You can see the log cabin here. And this is for Marshall, Archers Avenue. It's at the intersection of Illinois' first state road and America's first federal highway. Marshall was a gateway community for immigrants traveling west. It was founded in 1835 by Illinois Governor Joseph Duncan and Colonel William B. Archer. And there's a whole lot more information here. So the National Road became Marshall's Main Street. Luminaries such as Abraham Lincoln, Booth Tarkington, and James Jones followed the road to Marshall shops, hotels, restaurants, and Courthouse Square. And it shows the road leading from Illinois all the way over to Maryland. This is 1835 to 1935 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Marshall, Illinois, founded by William B. Archer, and to honor George Rogers Clark, for whom the county is named. These stones were used inside an early Marshall grist mill. And so there's the 100-year anniversary. And down here we have the 175th anniversary in 2010. And then down here we have Marshall, Illinois, 1835 to 1960. Friends of Libraries, USA, the James Jones from 1921 to 77. From Here to Eternity, Arthur James Jones co-founded the Handy Writers Colony, 1849 to 1864, at the west edge of Marshall with his mentor, Lonnie Turner, Handy, and her husband, Harry. Jones wrote Some Came Running here before moving to New York and later to Paris and writing other books. This is Harlan Hall from 1872. It's on the National Road Welcome Center, and it is a historical National Road art and architecture site. It says Harlan Hall has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places November 4th, 2001 by the United States Department of the Interior. It was built in 1872. And then here's a memorial to the Harlan Hall Opera House. The Archer House is a National Historic Landmark. This structure was erected in 1841 by Colonel William B. Archer, founder of Marshall, and John Bartlett, and has been in continuous use as a hotel. It was an important stagecoach stop in the early Cumberland Road where many prominent people, including Abraham Lincoln and Grover Cleveland, stayed. Here's the marker for the old Stone Arch Bridge. This bridge was completed by the Army engineers sometime between 1834 and 1837 as a part of the old National Road. The road between Cumberland, Maryland, and Vandalia, Illinois, was authorized by the Enabling Act of 1803 and was the nation's first federally financed highway. The bridge is a prime example of the stone building art and early American engineering. Stones were precisely cut and fitted together without bond or mortar. Many stone arch bridges were built along the Cumberland Road, but this was the only one still in use at the time of this marker dedication. So there's the original Stone Arch Bridge. Pretty cool. This marker's in the rest area on I-70. And if we look over here, it's concerning this bridge. So let's see what they have to say about this bridge. This is the Fancher Pony Truss Bridge. Hiram B. Trout and his brother Everett Trout were born on a farm about 5 miles north of this location. They operated a machine shop in Shelbyville, Illinois in the late 1800s, at which time they invented and patented the unique design for this pony truss bridge. They built about 150 of these bridges between 1892 and 1897, which were erected in Shelby and neighboring counties. The design feature which makes this bridge unique is the use of round pipe in the top chords, in posts, and verticals instead of the usual rivet-connected channel plates and angle iron materials. This bridge was erected on a township road near the small community of Fancher in Shelby County. It was in service for 88 years from 1895 until 1983, when it was reduced in width from 16 to 8 feet and moved 70 miles to this location for preservation by the Illinois Department of Transportation. And here's the bridge itself. Here's the sign for the Margaretta Post Office. On this site stood the Margaretta Post Office, which served many northwestern communities of Clark County from 1840 to 1861. It was named for Margaret, wife of the postmaster William B. Mars. Mail was carried to the post office first in saddlebags by horseback and later in post-mantius by stagecoach. Mars was a representative in the state legislature from 1836 to 1837. He was also a justice of the peace from 1835 to 1837 and a supervisor of roads in 1842. This marker's for the Westfield College. For more than 50 years, Westfield College was located on this site. It was founded as a seminary in 1861 by the United Brethren in Christ and incorporated as a college in 1865. The school was coeducational from the beginning and in some years granted both bachelor's and master's degrees. Its peak enrollment reached in 1909 was 160. It closed in June 1914. 3 years later, the old college building, then being used by Westfield Township High School, was destroyed by fire. And then here's a second marker just a little bit farther down the street that says this marks the site of the Westfield College from 1865 to 1917. This was presented by the high school class of 1932. This also marks the Westfield Township High School from 1921 to 1994, and this was presented by the class of 1932. This is a sign for Darwin. Darwin was the Clark County seat from 1823 to 1838. The county courthouse was 1 block south from 1819 to 1823. The county seat was Aurora, once located 2 miles north. 2 blocks east was the Darwin Steamboat Landing on the Wabash River. The Darwin Ferry, established in 1818, still operates just south of the landing. River traffic once made Darwin the leading distributing point for towns as far as 60 miles away. This marker is for Fort Handy. Fort Handy was built in 1816 and was located 1,200 feet southeast of this park on a knoll. The fort, the only structure of its kind in Clark County, was built by the family of Thomas Handy and contained 3 cabins and a well surrounded by a bulletproof palisade. This was erected by the West Union 4-H clubs and the Illinois State Historical Society. And there's also a Veterans Memorial back there. And then there's a guided missile, surface to surface, range 15 to 115 miles. So as you can see, there's a lot of markers in Clark County dealing with many different topics, including the founding of several different cities. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like, subscribe, and let us know what else you'd like to see. See you in the next episode.